That nigga Shannon Sharpe called me trying to do an interview. I said, no, Medea, so you can sit across from me and look at my balls.
Him talking all that,
Yeah.
when it one of them tight ass leather pants, trying to be funny,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna see if you're about that.
Yeah.
Say my name again. Now be
and-
like Destiny's Child and talk about say my name. And I got something.
Looks like the worlds of hip-hop and comedy are colliding, thanks to 50 Cent stirring up some drama again. You know, when we say nobody's safe from 50's radar, we really mean it. He's got his eyes on everyone, no matter their industry, and if you happen to rub him the wrong way, well, watch out. So it seems like Mike Epps might have found himself on 50's bad side, and now there's talk of some serious confrontation going down. But what exactly did Epps do to get under 50's skin? Well, it looks like it all involves Shannon Sharpe, the brains behind that top-notch podcast channel, Club Shay Shay. Seems like with fame comes both the perks and the pitfalls. Now, the gossip mill is churning out rumors left and right, saying that Epps might have thrown some not-so-friendly words Sharpe's way, and they weren't exactly sugar-coated. But here's the kicker. Sharpe isn't facing this alone. Nope. 50 Cent seems to be stepping in to have his back, and you know how tenacious 50 can be once he's got his claws into something. So it looks like Mike Epps might be in for a wild ride. But hey, let's cut to the chase. What exactly did Epps supposedly say to Sharpe that's got 50 Cent all fired up? Buckle up, because we're diving into all the juicy details. So 50 Cent and Mike Epps, they go way back. They're practically buddies. I mean, 50 Cent has even publicly shown some love for Epps on a few occasions. So for 50 to be throwing shade at Epps now, you know it's got to be serious. Some folks are speculating that maybe Epps crossed a line or something, but let's dive into all the drama surrounding him and Shannon. All right, so you've probably heard of Club Shay Shay, right? It's like the hottest podcast around these days, especially after snagging some big-name guests. And those viral moments, they've racked up over 100 million views on YouTube alone, ever since that Cat Williams interview dropped just over a month ago. But hey, with great fame comes great haters, apparently. Some people out there have been trash-talking Club Shay Shay, saying it's just a platform for black comedians and celebs to throw shade at each other. Well, it seems like Shannon Sharpe has had enough of the nonsense. During an episode of his Nightcap podcast with Chad Ochochinco Johnson, he straight up called out those who've been talking smack. And I quote, "Y'all know who I'm talking about. Say my name again and I'm gonna leak the DMs, cause you're lying. You claimed I reached out to you to come on Club Shay Shay, but you're a mother effing liar. I'm gonna see if you're about that life. I'm gonna see if you want to say to my face what you've been saying behind my back, just cause Cat Williams did his thing. And when I see you, we'll see if you're really bout it."
And I'm gonna release the DMs because you're lying.
Yeah.
You said I reached out to you to come on Club Shay Shay, and you a mofo lie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see you. I'm gonna see if you about that.
Okay.
Now, Sharpe didn't drop any names in his message, but you know how the internet is. They're pretty sure he's talking directly to Mike Epps. Recently, Mike Epps went viral during one of his stand-up comedy gigs. He starts talking about Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay platform, and let me tell you, things got heated real quick. Epps goes, "That dude Shannon Sharpe called me up trying to get an interview. I was like, nah, Medea, I ain't sitting down with you. I mean, come on, who wants to stare at his face while he looks at my B?"
That nigga Shannon Sharpe called me trying to do an interview. I said, no, Medea, so you can sit across from me and look at my balls.
But he didn't stop there. Epps kept on going, saying, "And then he's got this show called Shay Shay, like, seriously? Put a wig on him and tell me he ain't Medea's long-lost sister." Ouch, right? Well, Sharpe caught wind of Epps's comments and didn't hold back. But guess what? Epps wasn't about to take it lying down. He took to social media to set the record straight, saying, hold up. Now I get it, Shay Shay, but seriously? What grown man goes by the name Shay Shay? And now he's all riled up? Come on, man. People dish out smack talk about you all the time. They were even roasting you on Saturday Night Live.
I don't know what grown-ass man got a name named Shay Shay. I know this grown man is not mad at me. So many people talk crazy about you. They was on Saturday Night Live talking about you.
But it didn't end there. Epps went on to spill some more tea, admitting that he slid into Sharpe's DMs to get on his show after Sharpe threw shade at him while he was with Kat. And as for Sharpe's threats about pulling up on him, Epps brushed it off, reminding him they'd both be at the All-Star event in his hometown. However, he made it clear he wasn't into throwing fists these days.
Talking about pulling up on me. You're going to be an All-Star. I'm going to be at the All-Star in my hometown. And I'm going to see you.
Then, Epps couldn't resist poking fun at Sharpe's fashion choices, suggesting he dial it down with the tight shirt. He even compared Sharpe's look to Big Freedia vibes, adding a bit of humor to the mix. In the end, Epps just wanted Sharpe to take it easy with the muscles and maybe reconsider his wardrobe choices. Sharpe made it clear that his main issue wasn't about Epps insinuating anything about his S. He was more ticked off because someone straight up lied when they didn't need to. Sharpe, who's 55, didn't even bother addressing the whole insinuation about him being gay. He basically shrugged it off saying, "You can say whatever about me being gay. I really don't give a hoot about that." But here's where it gets spicy. Sharpe warned that if Epps kept dragging his name through the mud, he'd spill the beans on their private convos. "I've got the receipts," he said, ready to prove Epps wrong about being invited on his platform. Sharpe was like, "Look, we can all joke around and have a good laugh, but there's no need to go making up stories." And he didn't stop there. Sharpe kept on sending warnings, saying he'd pull up on whoever's been running their mouth about him. Now, you know how the internet loves a good drama, right? Well, they definitely had their say in this feud, and it seems like the majority of fans were firmly on Team Shannon. One fan said, "So Shannon said Mike lied." Mike confirmed that he lied, and Shannon said he won a rumble. Mike Epps responds to that by saying he'd shoot Shannon because he's too much of a B to face the consequences for his actions, and he thinks he looks like he's in the right here. And another fan said, "Shannon didn't bring him up. He brought up how no one brought him up in the cat interview. Lol, Shannon pressed him, and now he doing all of this. He wants attention." That's it. 53 years old. Now, Mike Epps, who is throwing shade to another person. Turns out he's got his fair share of controversies lurking in the shadows, and they're not exactly the kind of stuff you'd brag about. First up, there's some serious backlash from disability campaigners for Epps, poking fun at physically and mentally disabled kids during his stand-up routines. Then there's this incident back in 2014 where Epps allegedly got into it with fellow comedian LeVar Walker outside of a comedy club. Word on the street is that Epps and a couple of his bodyguards weren't too happy about a parody video Walker made about him and Kevin Hart, so things got physical. Epps supposedly threw a few punches, while one of his guys tossed the victim's phone and smashed his glasses. Atlanta police even got involved, issuing a warrant for Epps' arrest. And let's not forget about the whole kangaroo fiasco that went down around 2017. Epps caught flack for bringing a kangaroo onto the stage during one of his shows, and not in a good way. People were quick to point out that the poor animal looked seriously distressed, with Epps seemingly manhandling it against its will. Epps later apologized, claiming it was all unplanned and insisting he'd never intentionally harm an animal. Also, Epps got himself caught up in a bit of a sticky situation at the Indianapolis International Airport last year. Picture this. He's all set to kick off his nationwide comedy tour, but things take a wild turn when he's found with a revolver and some ammo at the TSA checkpoint. According to the airport police report, our guy Epps, who's an Indy native, had a Smith & Wesson .38 caliber tucked away in his backpack. Oops, right? When an officer responded to the call about a possible firearm, they found Epps, who claimed he totally forgot the gun was in there. Now here's the kicker. The gun was actually loaded with 4 rounds of ammo, but none of them were in position to go bang. Still, not exactly the kind of thing you want to be caught with at the airport, right? Looks like Mike Epps had a little more excitement than he bargained for on that trip. Epps took to Instagram to explain and apologize for the situation. "I had a long night. I had a show in my hometown, and I literally forgot that I had my pistol in my bag," Epps said in the video. Now, if you want to know why I carry a gun, I carry money all the time and be having jewelry on, and these dudes is out here robbing people. The comedian said he wanted to make it clear he isn't doing anything wrong and keeps a gun to protect himself when he doesn't have security. "I'm still on some positive vibes. Sorry that it happened," he said. Police kept Epps' gun, but advised the comedian, who was not arrested, on how to get it back. And then there's the whole beef between him and Kevin Hart. It's been a roller coaster, to say the least. So, rumor has it that things started heating up between these two funny guys back in 2014 when Epps threw some shade at Hart, calling him overrated. Cue the online banter, with both of them tossing jabs at each other left and right ever since. Fast forward to 2018, and Epps shares a snap on Instagram, chilling with none other than Eddie Murphy. But of course, someone had to stir the pot, commenting that Murphy is still funnier than Hart. Epps, not one to miss a chance for a dig, fires back with SHT, everybody is. Well, you know Hart wasn't gonna let that slide. He clapped back with, "Epsy, it's a shame that everybody isn't selling tickets like me though." But wait, there's more. Comedy Hype, the social comedy network, jumps in on the action, posting about the whole exchange on Instagram. Epps chimes in, saying the feud isn't press-worthy. But Hart? Oh, he's got a few more words to throw into the mix. "Epsy, all I can say is that you're a sad individual," he wrote in the comment section. "I talked to you several times face-to-face in attempts to put the BS behind us. I even reached out to you like a man and tried to get to the bottom of the bitterness. When will you realize that my success has nothing to odd with you or your journey? Unlike you, I want to see you win. I'm actually a fan champ." Hart then added, "I'm praying for the day that you will realize that so many of us entertainers have a crabs in a barrel mentality. You are the biggest crab I know. I will continue to shine and continue to make history and continue to do comedy at the highest level. If that makes you sick, then so be it. I will hand you a throw-up bucket because this next year that I'm about to have will be my best Mr. Bitter." He concluded, "While you worry about this grown little man, please know and understand that all I am worried about is success #ketchup." Comedy Hype then shared another photo of a new comment allegedly posted by Epps. "Kevin for Hart, you still starving to be a victim?" He wrote per Comedy Hype. "I said it wasn't press worthy. And here you go as usual trying to show the world how great you are because people pick on you. Get the F out. You have a long line of SHT to clean up before you can hand me a MF bucket. I've been doing this SHT for 25 plus YRS Mr. Victim. Don't get too cute, lil brother. This SHT is a lifetime achievement, and stop following my comments around the World Wide Web. How do you find this SHT? I talk about everybody, but you always take it personal. The whole internet talk about you, so don't stop here. You got a lot of responding to do." So yeah, this feud is probably far from over. Now here's the deal. Some folks out there are saying Mike Epps might be playing with fire by taking shots at Shannon Sharpe, especially considering the heavyweight defenders Sharpe has, like 50 Cent and none other than Cat Williams. And let me tell you, Cat doesn't mess around when it comes to his friends. Now let's rewind a bit to that infamous Cat Williams interview where he went off on a bunch of his fellow comedians. Surprisingly, he didn't mention Mike Epps. You'd think Epps would be grateful, right? Wrong. Turns out Epps was actually kind of peeved that his name didn't come up. He straight up called out Cat, saying, "Come on, man! You broke the internet and didn't even mention my name? I need that publicity, bro!" But it didn't stop there. Epps went on to critique Cat's outfit from that day, poking fun at his hat and calling out his fake Fendi jacket. Needless to say, that clip of Epps talking smack about Cat went viral real quick, stirring up a whole new wave of drama. Some folks online called Epps' response weak, while others pointed out that even if Cat's jacket was fake, which many doubt, everything else he said in that interview was on point. So yeah, Epps might want to watch his step, because if Cat decides to spill the tea, Epps might just end up regretting all that attention he's been craving. And if you want to get a sense of just how savage Cat can be, let's take a look at some of the stuff he said about his other buddies. Let's rewind the clock to December 2008 when Steve Harvey and Cat Williams found themselves in the headlines. These two haven't exactly been best buds for over a decade, and there's a story behind it. So, Cat Williams decided to call out Steve Harvey right before a Christmas season show, and things got wild. Picture this. Jamie Foxx, who was a radio host at the time, throws shade into the mix by playing a clip of Williams dissing Steve Harvey. Cat on the phone goes on a rant saying, "I want to apologize for what's going to happen," hinting at their upcoming joint comedy gig. But here's the kicker, he drops the bomb, telling Steve that once he hits the stage, it's game over for him as the king of comedy. Steve Harvey then calls in, baffled by the whole situation. He tells Jamie and the crew, "I've always been cool with Cat," explaining that back in LA, he didn't even know who Cat Williams was. Imagine that, Steve Harvey asking, "Whoever Cat Williams is, call me." So, Cat Williams didn't hold back in the recent interview, laying into Steve Harvey. Cat straight up called out Steve for supposedly being jealous of Bernie Mac, spilling the tea on their years-long beef. According to Cat, Bernie felt Steve was trying to mess with his movie roles, even attempting to snatch a role in Ocean's 11, creating major tension. Cat went on to claim that Steve, in an appearance on Club Shay Shay, tried to act all nonchalant about not wanting to be a movie star. But according to Cat, Steve was secretly trying to compete with Bernie Mac for movie roles. And that's not all. Cat also accused Steve of stealing material from another comedian, Mark Curry, and allegedly lying about being homeless. In Cat's words, the same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now, Steve got a sitcom where he's the principal, wearing a suit and rocking a high-top fade, making all black men think he's got the best lineup in the business. And it's a man unit, not the real deal.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. This the same Negro that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star.
Cat also called Steve out for supposedly lying about being homeless, saying, "That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey was never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories." Cat didn't stop there, diving into Steve's marital history, claiming Steve said it was his first wife who got him where he is, then switched it up with the next wife who thinks like a man. Kat questioned Steve's credibility and authenticity, especially when it comes to claiming to be the king of comedy. He even spilled that he was offered the chance to be the fourth king of comedy, but turned it down because of how Steve allegedly treated Bernie Mac. Kat said, "Because the whole time Bernie was here, you were acting like you were funnier than him. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all." Kat's not holding back, calling Steve out on his claims and keeping it real about how comedy works.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless.
Hold up, there's more to this Cat Williams saga. He might not just be blowing smoke. Guess who's supposedly backing him up? None other than Mark Curry. Yeah, that's right, Mark Curry's name is in the mix. So here's the scoop. Comedians really don't like it when someone swipes their jokes. And guess who's gotten on the wrong side of quite a few funny folks? Yep, our man Steve Harvey. In the wild world of showbiz, especially comedy, things can get messy real quick. Celebs borrowing each other's art, or in this case, straight up stealing jokes. It's like a comedy minefield. Mark Curry is making some noise, putting Steve Harvey on blast for allegedly lifting his material on a very public stage. Alright, so there's this explosive video and it's got Steve Harvey and Mark Curry tangled up in some serious comedy beef. Mark's claiming that Steve, who used to host Little Big Shots on NBC, swiped not one, but two of his jokes. And get this, Mark says he already confronted Steve about it in the past, but the alleged joke thievery kept happening.
My thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my material.
Now Mark, who's 62, spilled the tea to TMZ, saying that Steve jacked his Halloween bit, a personal story about growing up. But Steve wasn't having any of it. He straight up denied the accusations, saying Mark couldn't even name the supposedly stolen joke. Things got heated real quick, with Steve telling Mark to get a life and get a career.
Mark Curry says that you're still stealing his jokes.
Hey man, listen to me.
Yeah.
Now this, I'm getting sick of this right here.
Yeah.
Mark Curry need to grow up.
Steve went on a rant, saying he hasn't stolen a joke in 35 years and dared Mark to name the joke he's talking about. He even threw in a grow-up man for good measure. But here's the kicker, Mark wasn't just making stuff up. The comedian came armed with receipts proving his point and turning up the heat in this comedy feud. Mark Curry took his beef with Steve Harvey to Instagram and dropped some serious receipts in a video that's now deleted. Basically, he called out Steve for allegedly stealing a bunch of jokes from him for his show. In this video, Mark compared an episode from his 90s sitcom, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, where he talked about rocking a brown box as a UPS costume for Halloween. Surprise, surprise, Steve made the exact same joke in a 2015 episode of his show.
Bullshit talk show he had. And he did all my Halloween material one Halloween. I'm watching, somebody called me and said, man, homeboy doing your material. So he did my whole Halloween run.
All right, let's talk about the whole stealing joke scene. Another person Kat didn't hold back on was Cedric the Entertainer. He went in calling Cedric a walrus and straight up accusing him of plagiarism. According to Kat, Cedric denied jacking his jokes by saying, "It don't line up." But Kat wasn't having any of it. He pointed out that he dropped the joke on TV in 2018, and Cedric supposedly came to see him at the Comedy Store doing it in 2019. And guess what? Cedric later did the same joke on the Kings of Comedy. Kat's like, what doesn't line up here? He even threw in that it was a televised joke, and Mark Curry played a part in punching it up to its prime.
Cedric told you when you asked him, did you steal Cat Williams' joke? Yeah. He said, it don't line up. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship.
And that's not all. Kat didn't stop at Cedric. He swung back around to Steve Harvey before circling right back to Cedric. This time, he didn't pull punches, calling Cedric a walrus and basically saying he's not living up to that entertainer title. Kat claimed Cedric can't sing, can't dance, and can't write jokes. Ouch. He even threw shade at Cedric's comedy specials, saying they're so bad they're not even on Netflix or Tubi.
Right. We found out he can't sing, can't dance, and doesn't write jokes. He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Now, next up on the list is Kevin Hart. For those of you who don't know about the ongoing showdown between Cat Williams and Kevin Hart, you might recall that the beef traces back to the 2008 film Fool's Gold. Williams was initially set to take the lead, but his legal issues at the time forced him to pass on the gig, which involved filming Down Under in Australia. Enter Kevin Hart, who swooped in and snagged the role instead. According to The Grapevine, that's that's where the sparks of tension between Williams and Hart first ignited. Now, we're talking about more than a decade of simmering beef, folks. Williams, with all his comedic flair, is now taking aim at Kevin Hart. When the topic of Kevin Hart came up in his conversation with Shannon, Kat straight up alleged that Hart might be an industry plant. He questioned the lightning speed of Kevin's success, highlighting how he landed a sitcom and led a movie, Soul Plane, all in his first year in Los Angeles. According to Kat, this raises eyebrows and makes Kevin's early history seem a bit like a mystery. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. He continued saying, "What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definition of these words."
Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? What do you think a plant is?
Now let's talk Ludacris. Cat Williams went all out on his podcast episode, dropping some serious claims. According to Cat, both him and Ludacris were at a crossroads, invited to some Illuminati thing where one of them had to make a big decision. Apparently they were equal at the start, but it came down to cutting off all their hair and ditching the sideburn game. The plot thickens when Cat spills that the next person in line was set to snag a cool $200 million, getting $10 million a pop for 20 movies. And guess what? That person turned out to be Ludacris, and Cat Williams was the other player in the game.
Because they were gonna pay him $10 million a movie to do 20 movies. And that's how the conversation happened. One of those persons turned out to be Ludacris, and the other person turned out to be Cat Williams.
Oh, but Cat didn't stop there. He got personal. He threw some shade at Luda's wife, Eudoxie Mbugiengwe, calling her Luda's light-skinned, ugly-faced wife.
One person ended up with a light-skinned, ugly-faced wife that's never done it. Remember I told you that if I say that, it applied to 7 people?
Yes.
It's part of what they give you.
Guys, that video was like a wild roller coaster, dropping names left and right. Tyler Perry, Jonathan Majors, Michael Blackson, Ricky Smiley, and a bunch more. Some of them fired back at Cat's claims, others kept mum, but man, it was a lot to take in. So yeah, maybe Mike Epps should reconsider his so-called bluff, or else we're in for another crazy ride. What's your take on all of this? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.